Welcome to DSEJ Home Classes, an attempt to connect learner with the instructor, a digital initiative by Directorate of School Education. My dear students, today we are going to discuss chapter 9th of your biology portion, and the name of the chapter is the biomolecules, and this is the first part of the chapter, biomolecules. Now my dear students, the chemical composition of the living organisms as well as the non-living organisms, it is a matter to be discussed, and it gives us immense, we are able to explore immense mysteries of the nature if we are able to study the chemical nature of the molecule. Because there is a wide diversity in the living organisms in our biosphere, and a question arises in our mind that are all the living organisms made up of the same chemicals, that is elements and compounds? You have learned in your chemistry that chemical analysis is performed to know the chemical nature of the thing under consideration, whether it is a living or the non-living. And we obtain a list of elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and several others, and their respective content per unit mass of the living tissues. If the same analysis is performed on a piece of Earth's crust, as an example of non-living matter, we obtain a similar list. Now, what is the difference between these lists? That is, I want to tell you that the chemical composition of the living and the non-living things no doubt is the same, but there are little differences, that all the elements present in the sample of Earth's crust, that is in the non-living portion, are also present in the sample of the living organisms, that is both are composed of organic and the inorganic compounds. However, if you closely look at both the chemical analysis, it is revealed that the relative abundance of carbon and hydrogen with respect to other elements is higher in the living organisms than in the Earth's crust. That is, living organisms contains more organic material and non-living contain lesser organic and more inorganic material. The organic building blocks are the carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, which in different combination form different types of the organic compounds such as hydrocarbons, carbohydrates, lipids, amino acids, etc., nucleic acids, DNA, RNA, etc. Now, the point is that how do we perform the chemical analysis of the object under consideration? Now, analysis of chemical composition of the living organisms, we can continue asking in the same way the question, what type of organic compounds are found in the living organisms? To get an answer, one can perform a chemical analysis. We can take any living tissue, which may be for the plant purpose a vegetable or for the animal purpose a piece of liver, and grind it in the trichloroacetic acid using a mortar and pestle. As a result, we will be obtaining a thick slurry. If we were to strain this slurry through a cheesecloth or a cotton, we obtain about two fractions. One is called as the filtrate and the other is called as the retinate. The filtrate are more technically the acid soluble pool, and the second, the retinate, are the acid insoluble fraction. Scientists have found thousands of organic compounds in the acid soluble pools, and together we call all the molecules inorganic or organic. Secondary metabolites are primary metabolites. Together we call everything as the cellular pool. Now, what is cellular pool? The term cellular pool is the aggregation of various portions of the molecules in a cell. All kind of molecules. This is called as the cellular pool. Broadly, we can classify this cellular pool into two types, the organic and the inorganic. Now, this inorganic compounds include all those which are not the compounds of the carbon and the hydrogen. Now, organic compounds, because the living organisms are formed of the organic compounds as the major constituents, are further classified into two types: the secondary metabolites, and the second one are the primary metabolites, or we call them more commonly because of their physiological importance as the biomolecules, and the second one are the secondary metabolites. These biomolecules are the primary metabolites are further categorized on the basis of their size into micromolecules and macromolecules, more precisely called as biomicromolecules and the biomacromolecules. The micromolecules are small in size and have a low molecular weights, that is lesser than 1000 daltons, simple molecular structure, and often high solubility in the intercellular fluids. These include sugars, lipids, amino acids, and nucleotides. Second one are the macromolecules. The macromolecules are larger in size and have higher molecule, usually 10,000 daltons and above. They are complex molecular structure. They occur in the colloidal state, being soluble in the intracellular fluid. These include the organic compounds such as polysaccharides, proteins, nucleic acids, and enzymes. Now, dear students, I must tell you that sugars are the monomers of which the polysaccharides are formed. Amino acids are the monomers of which the proteins are formed. Proteins are the complex compound. Amino acids are the monomers of which the proteins are formed. Nucleotides are the monomers of which the nucleic acids are formed. Enzymes are the proteins, and most of the enzymes are the proteins, and so all the terms are inclusive. We shall be talking about these terms one by one in detail, but let us first talk about the inorganic compounds. The inorganic constituents of the living organisms, as you can see from this figure, that almost most of the elements of the periodic table, they constitute the inorganic constituents of the living organisms. Our body is made up of 62% of water, 16% of protein, 1% of carbohydrates, 16% of fats, 6% of minerals, and oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, all are the constituents of which these are made up of, and they vary in different amounts. As you can see, 65% oxygen, 18% carbon, hydrogen 9.5%, and similarly almost all the elements of the periodic table are found in the human body or any other living organisms. Now, next is the secondary metabolites. I must tell you, the secondary metabolites are the organic compounds that are not directly involved in the normal growth, development, and reproduction of the living organisms. The plant secondary metabolites produce products that aid in the growth and development of the plant but are not required for the plant to survive. A common role of secondary metabolite in plants is the defense mechanism that is used to fight from the herbivores, pests, and the pathogens. In humans, the plant's secondary metabolites are of different importance as they are used in many fields such as medicine, flavoring agents, dyes, etc. Here are some of the secondary metabolites. In order to make a list of biomolecules, such as the list that would contain thousands of organic molecules, including amino acids, sugars, etc., which come under the category of the primary metabolites. But however, a number of secondary metabolites, such as alkaloids, terpenoids, flavonoids, rubbers, essential oils, antibiotics, colored pigments, scents, gums, spices, these are all the secondary metabolites. While primary metabolites have identifiable function and play role in the normal physiological process, we do not know at the moment and understand the role or the function of the secondary metabolites. So this is about the secondary metabolites. Now we will be discussing the micromolecules and the macromolecules. As already I told you, micromolecules are smaller in size. Their macromolecules are larger in size. Accordingly, micromolecules have low molecular weight, macromolecules have high molecular weight. Micromolecules have simple structure and soluble intracellular fluids. They have a complex structure and are colloidal in nature, insoluble in intracellular fluids. Examples of micromolecules are water, minerals, amino acids, sugars, lipids, nucleotides. Whereas polysaccharides, proteins, enzymes are the macromolecules. Now, let us start with these biomolecules one by one. And to start with, I will talk about the carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are the compounds of carbon and hydrogen and are one of the inherent part of the plants, and these are the carbohydrates are defined as the polyhydroxyaldehydes and ketones. This means that they contain hydroxyl or the alcoholic group besides carbonyl and the carbon oxygen group. They are divided into monosaccharides, disaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. Of these two, mono and di are the micromolecule, oligo and polysaccharides are the macromolecules. Monosaccharides are the simplest sugar as they contain only one sugar molecule in them, and disaccharides contain two molecules of sugar in them. When the number of sugar molecules vary from 2 to 10, they are called as the oligosaccharides, and when they contain large chains of the monosaccharide units, these are called as the polysaccharides, which include starch, glycogen, cellulose. Oligosaccharides are the raffinose, stacchylose. Then disaccharides are sucrose, lactose, maltose, and glucose, fructose and galactose are the examples of the monosaccharides. Now, carbohydrates perform a lot of functions in the body of living organisms. First of all, they are the major source of energy. Carbohydrates are principal source of energy since they provide about 60 to 80% of the caloric requirements of the body. They show the protein pairing action. Carbohydrates, that is, they come to rescue and spare the proteins from being misused for caloric purposes. So, that is, carbohydrates provides instant source of the energy and do not allow the loss of proteins for the energy consumption uses. Now, as you can see here, the structure, these are the monosaccharides, glucose, galactose and fructose. These are hexoses, 6-membered sugars. These are all monosaccharides. This is the oligosaccharide, which contains 2 to 10 molecules of sugar, and these are the long chains, the starch of the polysaccharide, which contains large number of the monosaccharides bound together and thus performing the function of the polysaccharides. Now, next is the nucleic acids. Nucleic acids, as all of you know, are the molecules inside the body of the living organisms that store genetic information for cellular growth and reproduction. The nucleic acids are of two types: DNA, that is deoxyribose nucleic acid, and RNA, that is ribose nucleic acid. Now, these are the polymers which contain long chains of the monomers, to which we call nucleotides. The nucleotides are the building blocks are the monomers of the nucleic acids, the information molecules of the cell. They also take part in the energy transfer system of the cell. I must mention here that nucleotides form about 2% of the total of the cell contents. Now, a nucleotide consists of three things: a nitrogenous base, a pentose sugar, and a phosphoric group. This pentose sugar is the deoxyribose sugar in case of DNA and ribose sugar in case of RNA. Now, this table will depict the structure of the nucleotides in some closer details. The nucleic acids is a macromolecule, biomolecule, consisted of the micromolecules or the monomers called as the nucleotides. A nucleotide is formed of the nucleoside portion and a phosphoric acid. Nucleoside portion consists of the nitrogenous base and the sugar. The nitrogenous bases are of two types, the purines and the pyrimidines. Purines are of two types, adenine and guanine. Pyrimidines are of three types, cytosine and thiamine. Of these, the cytosine and thiamine are found in case of DNA, whereas thiamine is replaced by uracil in case of RNA. Sugar, there are two types of sugar, ribose type in RNA and deoxyribose in RNA. Now, nucleic acids, they perform a number of functions in the living organisms. First of all, the one of the foremost function is the transmission of the hereditary character. They store genetic information and control the protein synthesis. They direct the synthesis of RNA, whereas RNA directs the synthesis of specific proteins. There are three types of RNA. mRNA are the messenger RNA, which takes genetic information in the form of messages from RNA. Transfer RNA or tRNA transfers activated amino acids to the site of protein synthesis. rRNA are mostly present in ribosomes and responsible for the stability of messenger RNA. Now that's all for the nucleic acids. My dear students, we will stop here today. Thank you. Stay safe till we will meet next time with the remaining part of this chapter, in which we will be discussing enzymes, proteins, amino acids and the other biomolecules. Till then, have a nice